Cool.
But, you know, you're a special one this time.
Yeah, I guess so.
But, all right, well, yeah, welcome to the podcast. Are we good on sound? How we?
Sensational.
It is what it is. We here. Well, welcome to another episode, number 9. We almost are at double digits.
Wow.
Is this number 9?
This is number 9.
Oh, okay.
Almost at double digits. But welcome to a new Monday, new guest. We have
Theo.
What up?
who's
An actor.
an
Our first
He's so
actor
excited
guest.
for an actor to come
What an
through.
honor.
But yeah, dude, we watched your acting reel.
Oh, cool.
You're
Yeah.
fucking
Cool.
You're fire, bro.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, dude,
Thanks,
morning
man.
show is
Appreciate
such a dope show.
Yeah,
to be a
I
part
haven't
of.
seen the second season, but I love the first season. And
Okay.
when Arya said you were in the, because I was watching it and we were saying, oh, we saw you on we were gonna say his short films, but then Arya said, oh, he's on the morning show.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I was like, come again?
Yeah.
I was like, that's
So that's another
dope.
thing. You've worked with 2 of our other guests.
Yeah, sorry.
Right.
Arya,
Context.
and Anthony.
Yeah.
You've known. How long have you known Arya?
So me and Arya met in high school.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I think he kind of told the story because I watched his episode. But,
Yeah.
basically in high school, I never talked to the guy at all.
Yeah.
And then I was doing my first play, which was Holes.
Yeah, he said that.
Which is a funny story. We can talk about that. But yeah, and he approached me and he was like doing like the film program or whatever as an elective, and he was like, "Hey man, like I'm doing this short film. Like, would you wanna, whatever?" And I had never acted on camera, so I was like, "Yeah, like
Gotcha.
And then our friendship just sort of blossomed.
Wow. So that was your first screen acting.
Totally,
Yeah,
totally organic.
So are you think of yours mainly as a theater actor? Or
No.
like that's how you started?
That's how. Well, I guess the way I started was when I got to high school, I had to take an elective or whatever. So
Yeah.
I just did like intro to drama, and so I did that my freshman year, and I was like, wow, this is like really fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like a really fun elective.
Yeah.
And then my second year, I did like intermediate drama, and I was like, I love doing this, but like I never ever thought about it as a
Career.
or anything like that. And then my junior year, I did advanced drama, and at that time, my drama teacher was like, hey, like he kind of like pulled me aside, and he was like, hey, like you really have like a gift for this. Like you should like think about doing this seriously. And like at the time, it was like sort of a wild idea just because, my parents are like, I come from like immigrant family.
Oh, dude, don't even.
Yeah,
don't
you
even-
get it. You understand what I'm
yeah.
saying, So it was like, I hadn't even thought about it. But then he's like audition, for the plays and stuff like that. So the first play I auditioned for was Holes. And you guys familiar with Holes?
Yeah.
So you guys know Sam the Onion Picker?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I got cast as. But the funniest thing about it, and like I was even taken aback, was it came down to me and a black guy who like I guess just had really never. He was just I mean, for anyone who's listening, like growing up in Irvine, there's just unfortunately like not a huge diverse spectrum. And especially like in my high school, there was like maybe a handful of black kids. And so this kid like didn't really act. He just happened to be like one of the black kids that went to school.
And just wanted to try.
So like the teacher had like a obviously a dilemma on his hands. He's like, do I just cast the black guy because he's black, or do I cast Theo, who's not black but can actually act? So he ended up casting me. I felt really bad, whatever.
That's funny.
But yeah, that was like my first thing. But the opportunity it gave me was to feel the energy of like being on stage. And having that like give and take with an audience. And once I felt that, it was like
game over.
It was like this is like what I was meant to do.
So pre high school, there was no like interest or thought about it.
No, I mean like I had done like goofy stuff with friends and things like that, but like no, I mean going into high school, I was just like I hated school. I love the social aspect of it. I love being around my friends and stuff like that, but like I was so bad at school.
Wow, dude, we're very similar.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, I was just not a great student. And the funny thing is, like, my parents, like I was saying earlier, like they're immigrant parents, and they they like really did their best to make sure I was a really good student. Like they would, you know, get me tutors and really help me with my homework and help me study and stuff like that. But like, that's just not the way my brain is designed. You know, I'm way more imaginative and creative than anything else.
I was literally telling Milad, I was having this conversation with my mom for like the 1,000th time the other day.
Yeah.
It's just not for me, man.
I'm not gonna lie. I think Mel's crushing a little bit. Something. He's so happy over here,
man. Yeah.
That's
so.
crazy.
Were you born here?
No. So I was born in South Africa.
Whoa.
Yeah. So there's
no way. That's crazy.
There's 5 generations of my family in South Africa, and the way I guess we got there was so the Dutch colonized South Africa basically, and so when they did that, they were like, oh, you know, we need slaves. So they went to India. And they got, as many slaves as they could. And so that's how my ancestors got there. And actually, I don't have any relatives or anything in India. I just know that, like, regionally, I'm, from South India. And, but yeah, so there's 5 generations of my family in South Africa. And we're from Durban, which actually has the highest population of Indian people outside of India.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's like a very dense population of Indians. And we moved to Orange County when I was 4 because my dad had a job opportunity and it was like a contract position. He's like an IT guy. So it was like for 3 years. And the idea was that, we'd move here. My dad would get, the experience, and then we'd move back to South Africa. And now we've been here for like 20-something years. My sister was born here. So like this is where we grew up.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, the idea of like home is like a really interesting thing for me because whenever I go back to South Africa, it's like, this sort also feels like home,
Gotcha.
But I mean, I have no extended family here at all. So like all my extended family's in South Africa.
No way.
Yeah.
I think you're the first person that I know personally from South Africa.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's crazy. That's why I say like that's crazy because like I've never really heard.
Never met a South African.
For real though.
Yeah. Well, and usually the ones that are here like still have their accents and stuff like that. And I lost my accent like really early
I mean,
on.
you came here for, right?
Exactly. But my parents still have their accents.
Gotcha.
But they talk to their family members all the
I
time.
was gonna say, that's why, like, for my mom's from Japan.
Okay.
And, like, she talks to her, and she's the only one here.
Okay.
So that's, like, sometimes her accent will come out because, like, she's still talking in, Japanese and stuff.
Right.
So it's, like, that's why she, like, still has that accent, too. But that's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting, like, like, here, when we first moved here and, like, we would, like, interact with Indian people for the first time, it was, like, interacting with them as if, like, they're foreign to us and we're foreign to them too. You know what I mean? Because like even like, something that like most people can see eye to eye on in terms of food, like the Indian food in South Africa is different than the Indian food that like, most people know here.
Yeah.
Just because like, when Indians first came to South Africa, they didn't have the access to the same spices and stuff like that. So like the Indian food in South Africa tends to be like spicier,
which I kind of like though.
Sure. But like, and so like, it was weird because like, my parents, I think they had like a very challenging time making friends with people that looked like them on the surface, but like they couldn't really relate
different.
to. Totally. But my upbringing was like really, really interesting, especially growing up in Irvine, because like, people like kids couldn't really place me. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, this guy's Indian, but like, is he though? You know? And so for like, for so much of my, I mean, up until this day, so many people think I'm black.
As casting directors would put it, ethnically ambiguous.
Sure. Sometimes
I get that like Hispanic or
like,
Filipino and
totally. And I've had like casting directors ask me, so like, what is your background?
What are you?
What are you?
What are you? And then I said, give them the whole spiel about South Africa, and they're like, what? Like, that's great,
Yeah. I mean, you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm going to be 30 in June.
Okay. So, like, even in Irvine, like, back then, I'm sure, like, even kids back then were like, he talks like us.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like us.
Totally. I mean, like, like, growing up, kids would like casually throw around the N-word towards me, and like I had this like internal conflict of like, should I be offended? You know what I mean? Like
Totally.
I think I should be offended, but like I'm not black.
Yeah,
So
totally.
so I had to like fake being offended or like whatever it is.
Yeah,
You know.
Yeah.
Like one time like a teacher like wrongly, this was 3rd grade, some random teacher that wasn't even my teacher accused me of like I think I came in from lunch and I was washing my hands, and a bunch of other kids were like making noise in like the central, I think they called it like the pod or something like that. And I was just like minding my own business, but by the time those kids left, it was just me washing my hands. So the teacher came out and thought that I was the one making the noise or whatever. And so she's like, "What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah." And she like goes and tells my teacher, and I'm like, "It wasn't me, blah, blah, blah." You know what I mean? And like somehow I immediately knew, and this is like a 3rd grade version of myself, knew to play the race card. I was like,
interesting.
I was like, "Oh, is it because?"
What?
Yeah.
I
I remember going home and like telling my mom, like, "You won't believe what happened. Like, I think I got racially profiled today." You know?
Imagine your 3rd grader coming home saying that shit.
Yeah.
But that's the crazy part is that shit is still happening.
Totally.
Till this day.
Totally, man. It's
like
wild.
people think it's like all. I feel like younger generation than us is like acting like it's a new thing, but this shit's been around.
Yeah. And I think like especially like being an actor, it's that on steroids because
typecast.
Exactly, and it doesn't matter what you're auditioning for; they're immediately trying to place you as like, oh, he's too this or he's not enough that or whatever.
We want more accent. We want
exactly.
More, like
exactly.
Yeah,
that was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about too, because it's like, I don't know about you, but like 90% of projects I audition for that aren't like a feature or like a recurring role.
Right.
It's like an like a co-star role.
Sure.
It's like refugee, like Syrian refugee. Like Indian clerk owner.
Yes.
Like I literally on TV played an Indian guy who just like worked at a Stop and Shop.
That's crazy.
And one of your most recent auditions that I helped you with, you had to do the accent.
I did an Indian accent for that role on TV.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the director came up to me after one of the scenes, and he was like, "The producers are like, you can go a little bit easier on the Indian accent." And I was just like, "Dude, what do you want from me?"
Yeah.
Because you didn't even have an accent.
I'm like, I'm not Indian.
Like, how do you where's the range you want?
I'm
me
also
to be
not
in?
Indian.
Yeah. Like where? So that's what we were talking. Like, how do you like?
Yeah. So what do most of your breakdowns look like?
Well, it's a little different now. I would say, like when I first started out auditioning, that was in New York.
Yeah.
And kind of like what you said, a lot of it was really stereotypical.
Yeah.
And actually, the first guest star that I did was on a show called Limitless.
You
it was
saw
on,
that.
Yeah.
Saw that on your,
And you had an accent for that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And me and the director, Lexi Alexander, who she's like doing great things. She does like a lot of like action stuff.
Yeah.
But we like really fought with the producers on set that day to like not have an accent. She was like, "Why does this guy have to have an accent?"
So the director was
and I was so grateful for it.
Really
and
dope.
basically, she was like, Theo, I'm so sorry. Like, there's no way around it. Like, and I was like, all right, I'll do it. But like,
did you audition with it?
I auditioned with it, and it's funny because the first take that I did, I didn't. When I auditioned for it with the casting director, I did not have an accent, and then. And I know it said that it has an accent, so I made sure I did not have an accent just to see,
what the reaction was.
Yeah, and then the casting director was white, and he was like, I could tell like he was uncomfortable articulating it. You know what I mean? Like,
that's the crazy part. They have trouble articulating it, but they're fine with saying it on paper.
Yeah.
Not face
totally,
to face. It's
totally.
Like, what's the difference?
And then he was like, is there any way that you could maybe just do like a little bit?
Not
I was
the
like,
silent
of a what?
Yeah.
no, but he was like, an accent.
Just trying to
whatever,
question it more.
I did it, and But yeah, you know, when I actually shot it, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do like a tinge of an accent.
Yeah.
Like it's not like gonna be over the top.
Yeah,
or
when
whatever.
we saw it on your reel when you did your first couple lines, he was like, "Oh, he has an accent." I was like, at first I couldn't really hear
Right.
it. And then
Yeah,
when
it was subtle. It was
subtle, but
yeah, I kind of met them halfway.
Yeah. No, definitely, you can tell. But like when it went on for more, I was like, "Oh, there's the accent." And then that's when we were like, "Oh, definitely." Like it's always that typecast,
Right.
especially for like even like Asian, like Middle Eastern and all that. Like, yeah, but
totally. Yeah, and I think, like I was saying, like so, like when I was first starting out, like it was a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
I think over the past, I mean, I've been auditioning now for 8 years, and it's definitely evolved.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is that before the pandemic, I had like really short hair, like even shorter than your hair. Like I would get, you know, a fade, or whatever. And during the pandemic, I grew my hair out, and that opened up a whole new world of casting.
Whatever
like,
you like change slightly,
like,
you can definitely like explore more.
And so the roles that I've been getting like over the past 2 years, I'd say, are much more dynamic. Yeah, much more. You know, they have a wider view of the world.
Yeah. I was gonna sorry to interrupt you, but that's one thing that I loved about you on the morning show is because one, it's like a dope show. And you're not playing like a brown guy.
Right. Yeah. Totally. And I really appreciated that. And actually, funny, we're talking about my hair. My first day on set, you know, the director was also one of the executive producer on the show, Mimi Leader. She's like, oh, you know, thanks so much for being here. You know, we loved your tape and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, and we really loved your hair. She's like, look at that hair. And then she was like, you know, one thing that we actually thought about was like, because I play Billy Crudup's character's assistant. And she was, so everything that Billy, like, anytime he's in the office or whatever, I'm there. And so, you know, we were talking about how, like, I idolize this guy and that sort of thing. And she's like, your hair aspires to even be like him. And I was like, wow. Like, there's no way I would have got this if I didn't have my hair that I have now.
Because he does have that slick back.
So, like, you know, like the hair people, you know, in the trailers, they would, like, look at, sample a picture of my hair and a picture of his hair and try to, like, match
Duplicate
it
up.
Wow. So it was cool. It was, I was really grateful for that opportunity. Because none of it had anything to do with my ethnicity. Yeah. And at first they gave me the name Kyle. Like, it was just Kyle. And I know a bunch of friends who also auditioned for the same role, and it, like, you know, one guy was Asian, another guy was Hispanic, so, like, they really cast a wide net.
I feel like that's, for the stuff I've been auditioning, they've been doing that a lot. Like, any, like, ethnicity like that.
Totally.
Which is really, like, cool.
Yeah, no, it's great from, like, from the idea of, like, you know, equal opportunity. But it's harder as an actor because then you're up against
so many more people.
Yeah, exactly. That's for sure the pros and cons of it. For sure. Definitely.
Let's go rewind a little bit. Sure. So after high school, you went to Tisch, correct?
So it's a little bit of a convoluted route.
Okay.
Ooh, nice. Okay. We love to go there.
So when I like I said, in my junior year is when I was like, you know, I was like, this is what I'm gonna do with my life. Like, this is what I want to do. But I had, you know, growing up in Irvine, I had no route. Like, I had no idea of, like, a path to follow.
Yeah, like where to go.
Yeah, like, you know, a bunch of my friends were, like, not artists, and they were doing very practical things, and there's a path to follow. Yeah. And so I had to kind of figure it out on the fly. So my first thought was, you know, I need to go to acting school because, you know, there's no way I'm just going to, like, start doing it, you know? And I had no reference point or anything like that. So I applied to the acting program at UCLA, at Chapman, at USC, and at I don't remember if there was another one. And then I applied to Fullerton as a backup, like, as if I didn't get to any of those. Like, and in my mind, you know, naive as I was, I was like, oh, no, I'm going to get into one of them. Like, I'm going to get into all of them. Yeah, totally. And NYU wasn't even on my list. I did not apply there. And you know, like I said, I was a really bad student. So the idea of me thinking that I'm even going to get into a good college, regardless of an acting program, was really delusional of me at the time. But long story short, I only got into Fullerton mainly because of my grades, right? So, like, even if I, like, did an amazing audition for those
top
schools.
actor, like
my grades really
tank that.
Yeah,
Got it.
totally. So
I think we're all three similar
yes,
in that way.
exactly. And so Arya actually went to Fullerton too. But my idea, when that became my reality, I was like, all right, there's no way I'm gonna be able to go to Cal State Fullerton and like be an actor. Like these two things do not equate. So my thought process was, all right, if this is something I'm actually gonna do, like I'm gonna put my head down and make this happen. And I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I'm gonna go to hell or high water to make it happen. And so my thought process was,
right there.
yeah, my thought process was, I'm going to do this in a year. Like, I'm not going to waste 2 years of my life at a school. Because I was like, I'm going to transfer somewhere. I have to. I'm not going to do the acting program at Fullerton.
Yeah.
And so basically, my dad, he set up a meeting with the admissions counselor at the theater school at USC. And he was like, what does Theo have to do? Like, what courses does he have to take at Fullerton in order to transfer to USC? Because my eyes were just set on USC. Like, gotcha. It's close enough to home, but it's far enough from home. It's in LA. I'll be in LA. Like,
be in the realm of everything.
In the industry, exactly. Yeah. And so I had this whole list of courses, and she was like, all right, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to be a full-time student at Fullerton and go to community college. So I was like, all right, I'll do it.
Shit.
At the same time, because I was so bad at school, I genuinely thought I had ADD, right? So
you diagnosed yourself.
No, my parents got me tested.
Oh, no. Okay,
so I went to a neuropsychologist, Dr. Lechuga, and I mean, how could you forget that name?
Yeah,
right?
Come on now.
Yeah. And,
Dr. What?
Lechuga.
Lechuga.
Yeah, exactly.
Dr. Lechuga, where you at?
Yeah. And my first meeting with him, he's like, oh, you want to be an actor? And I was like, yeah. He's like, my son's friend just went to the acting program at NYU. And I was like, yeah, well, I want to go to USC, so I don't really know.
I don't really care about it.
Yeah. And he was like, you should think about it. And that planted the seed in my mind. And I was like, maybe I should just like apply to NYU and see what happens. So long story short, I did my year at Fullerton and at community college. I got all these GE credits, and I was ready to apply, and I applied to USC and NYU. I auditioned for both programs. I actually, my dad forgot to schedule my audition for NYU. And, they basically, they go to select cities around the country. And when it was the LA date, my dad just forgot to schedule it. Yeah. And I was like, are you kidding? Yeah. Like, I'm like going to 2 colleges right now, trying to make this dream happen.
How can you forget that?
Yeah. And so he ends up calling the admissions department at NYU and explaining the story. And they were like, look, Mr. Iyer, like, I don't know what to tell you. You can show up, and if somebody doesn't show, your son can like, take the spot.
I know where this is going.
And so we drove to LA that day on a whim, basically, and one person did not show up. And I was the last audition, not only of that day, they had been in LA for 2 days previous to that. Okay. And I was there on the third day.
The last
spot
person?
on the last day.
Holy
meant to be.
Shit.
Yeah, man. And, I end up getting into USC and NYU. And at that point, I was like,
"That's crazy.
What do I do? Like, where am
now
I?"
It's your top
yeah,
school.
exactly. I always had my eyes set on USC, and then I thought to myself, and my parents were so supportive about it at the time, and they were like, I was like, whenever am I gonna have the opportunity to go to New York, like a road to go to New York, and so that's how I ended up going there.
That's just the true definition of like you're meant to be there.
Totally,
right time,
1,000%.
Like
1,000%, man. It was absolutely meant to be, and so I ended up transferring to NYU.
Okay.
And by that time, I had already done so many GEs that I only had to go there for 3 years, which is a blessing and a curse in the sense of like, NYU is a very expensive private school. Yeah. So it was good to only go for 3 years, but I do, another year of training would have been amazing as well.
Yeah.
But the acting program there, basically they divide you into different studios, and each studio has a different philosophy towards acting. So there's Meisner, there's Stella Adler, there's Strasberg, there's the experimental theater wing.
Yeah.
And so the rule is that you have to spend your first 2 years at whatever studio they place you at. And it's funny because like the only diagnosis that they use to figure out who goes where is like some interview on the audition day where they're asking you a bunch of random questions, and then they try to figure out like, oh yeah, I feel like this philosophy would fit this actor. Or
just off their personality.
Interesting.
Not an accurate way.
Totally.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I did my first 2 years at Stella Adler,
Cool.
which is an imagination-based philosophy.
I know Stella Adler.
Okay.
See, I don't know any of these.
Did they teach Fitzmaurice?
Yeah, a little bit.
Cool.
A little bit. Yeah.
That's the tremoring thing I was telling you
Oh
guys about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Did you ever do tremoring?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I was on one of the episodes. I was like trying to explain to them
I
what
want
it
to see
is.
this in action.
It's actor talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
but it's because it's kind of silly. Yeah.
Totally.
I
I
want
mean,
to see this in action.
there's a lot of things you do in acting school that are just like,
questionable.
what is the purpose?
Yeah.
This? Like, why am I half naked right now? Like what? But yeah, so I did my first 2 years there, and then my last year I did at a studio called Stone Street, which is like very like TV and film and commercial focused.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea behind going there was that like, they set you up with showcases for agents and managers, and it's kind of like, you're leaving acting school and you want to have a career, so you want to have reps and that sort of thing. So
it's like the next step after college kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's what I did my last year, and I found my first agent through there, my first manager through there, and so by the time I had, just before graduating, actually, like I booked my first thing. Like I was still technically in school.
Yeah.
But it was a great, going to school in New York is just, it's an amazing experience because especially NYU, you're a college student, but you're living in the city. Like there's no campus or anything. You just kind of surrounds Washington Square Park, but
that's cool.
you grow up really fast, and I'm grateful for that. Not only as an artist, but as a human being. Growing up in Irvine was a great experience, but like going to New York, your world
that's a whole
view
that's
gets
a whole different
You're out of this bubble.
Oh,
ballpark.
totally, and you're with people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, and so.
I need to go to New York.
Yeah.
I wish I knew what you're talking about because
Sure.
I've never been.
Oh, you never been?
I've never been.
Oh,
You've
man.
never been to New York?
Oh,
That's
wow.
the one place I've always wanted to go.
Okay.
One of the places I've always wanted to go.
Interesting.
Even though I know I don't want to live there because I'm like claustrophobic, so like I know like it's a lot.
I think like it can be claustrophobic. Don't get me wrong. But it actually there's a lot of space. There's a lot.
Yeah. See, I don't even. Yeah, I just know the cliche New York.
Well, it's funny
like
when I had never been to New York either before I went to NYU. Mm-hmm. So like when I went to NYU, it was just like here go
culture shock.
Yeah, like go in the deep end. You know what I mean?
And
it actually like when I first got there, I was like overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because it's so much sensory stimulation. And you're like 19 years old and, you're in college and just like all of these different things are hitting you at the same time.
You thought you were grown up until you go to New York.
Exactly. Yeah. And I remember like after my first year, I was like, do I still want to be here? Like, this is hard.
But that's exactly what I hear from a lot of people that have been to New York or lived in New York. So it's like, I obviously like it sounds like a crazy experience, which I want to like try.
Right. I mean, as an artist, I couldn't recommend it more. It doesn't matter what your art form is.
Gotcha.
Just because there's so much inspiration simply coming from the artists that you're surrounded by. Mm-hmm. Nobody's making money. Nobody cares about money. Everyone cares about art. Like it's like the pure form of art. Like people are like, experimenting with things, trying things.
It's like a community and like you collaborate.
Totally. If you and your friends, want to get together and like put together a show, you can just do it at Washington Square Park.
That's so
you don't have to spend any money. You know what I mean? Rehearse in your friend's apartment, whatever it is. Like that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And now that I live in LA, it's not like that at all.
We smash about LA and all that kind of like social media bullshit on this show so many times.
Yes.
Like, we're just
I always say if I wasn't an actor, I would, as soon as I can, not live in California.
Yeah.
Literally
It's really, especially LA because it's so it's such a saturated place with people trying to quote unquote make it. That the idea of art kind of gets thrown out the window.
That's why there's that saying that my mom, and I know a lot of people say it, but LA's the land of broken dreams.
I heard one the other day that's like LA is shitty heaven, New York is nice hell.
Yo, okay,
That's
or
funny.
there or what?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Vice versa, or whatever it is.
That's
But
funny.
yeah, so then after graduating, I spent 3 years in New York.
Gotcha.
And I, I basically did the actor,
Thing
I
in
did
New York?
everything. I did theater. I did a few different TV shows. I did a regional play,
Dope.
stuff off Broadway. Yeah, I just kind of, tried to do everything that I
Put
possibly
your
could.
hand in everything for
Yeah.
acting.
Yeah, but it was tough. It was like,
I was gonna say, how was that like financially, like?
oh man, it was.
Because I know New York is. That's the one thing I know is like
Yeah,
expensive.
dude, it was hard. My first year when I graduated, I didn't book anything.
Yeah.
And nothing, and I was working a desk job, just to make
Make
money,
ends
and I
meet.
was miserable, like absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
Like I would go to like this, it was like this like recruiting thing where I had to like, and it was like digital marketing, and I didn't even know why they hired me.
Yeah.
I was also doing a horrible job. and it was at the time where WeWork had just come out.
Yeah.
And so we were working in a WeWork, and like I was like never actually in the office. I'd tell them like, yeah, I'm gonna go take a meeting, or
And you're
whatever.
at the lounge area.
Yeah,
probably,
dude. Like I was like talking to people in the other
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I'll like run out to go do an audition,
Yeah, yeah,
and that was crazy because they were like, oh well, the idea was like, oh well, you're gonna work here full time, and then like whenever audition comes up, we'll talk about it, and if you have to leave for whatever purposes, but like I was like, I'm not gonna talk to them about it. Like I'm just gonna go and figure it out. Whatever it was. So, there'd be times where I'd be like, I'd make up random excuses. Doctor's appointments, like everything.
That's funny. That's exactly
Yeah.
how we operate.
Yeah,
Me,
I've worked
for like
at
high school.
I've worked at one job where
Okay.
like the manager was really cool, and going into it, I like told him I was an actor because he kind of seemed like he was from that world, but like artsy. And he was like, anytime you need to leave
Oh,
for
wow.
an audition, you can do
That's
it.
dope.
Wow.
And I was like, dope. But
That's
that
amazing.
was the only job. Everywhere else, I would like make something up. Like I have
Yeah.
class, I have a doctor's thing. Yeah.
Hey, motion detected at the front door. Thank you for that. No, but yeah, but for me, for high school, that's exactly what I had to do. And my mom like would always like fake notes and shit.
Oh, yeah,
Even though
yeah.
that's the thing. Even though we went to an art school, like
But you know what the thing is? It's because you were in the film conservatory. Because I
That
was in the
okay.
acting conservatory, and that was an excused absence if I was leaving for an audition.
yeah,
I think it's because you were in a different.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
in the film department, but I still like danced and like did acting stuff, but they didn't really like that.
Yeah.
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 Even
yeah,
though
yeah.
I was like going to an art
I
school.
mean, it's tough. It's tough when you're like, working for someone's company and they think that you're like committed to that thing,
Yeah,
and
like,
then
don't
when
give a
you're
fuck.
just here to make
yeah,
men's eat.
yeah. I mean, I remember one time my girlfriend at the time, she had like a wrist thing, so she had a brace, right? And I had to do something, like I had a series of auditions or like something like that. I can't remember what it was, and I was like, what can I do to get out of work? And so I took her brace and I put it on my hand, and I went to work, and I didn't say anything. I just like, started up my computer or whatever.
Yeah,
and
because
they were
when you
like,
say shit and talk about it more,
sounds
it's
like
more
it sounds like an
suspicious.
excuse, exactly.
Yeah.
And so they were like, "Theo, what happened?" I was like, "Oh yeah."
That's where your acting skills come in.
Yeah, I was playing playing pickup soccer this weekend, and like I fell on it, and I think it's like fractured, whatever. And they were like, "Oh my god, like you should go to the doctor." And I was like, "Yeah, no, Theo,
That's
like
a good
if it's
idea.
actually fractured, you should go." And I was like, "Oh, but like I have like, don't we have this?" Like, no, but Theo, like I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure."
Can I leave at this
Wait,
time?
Yeah. And I was like, is it okay if I go call the doctor? And I was, I like made the time my audition time. or whatever it was. But then I also had follow-ups, right? So I left for the doctor's appointment,
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh yeah, he said I need to come back and
In
like
like a couple days.
yeah,
or
yeah.
so.
They did a scan, and so they'll have the results.
But
I'm
it's
like,
for the callback.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I like
Yeah.
but basically I lasted there for less than just under a year.
Hey, it's a sacrifice you gotta
Totally.
make sometimes.
And
like,
I got
as
to a
in-
point where it's like I cannot do this
Yeah,
anymore.
There's that
And-
turning point. I feel like a lot of artists are like, okay, I'm gonna sacrifice, do is whatever I can, and then there comes to that point
Yeah.
where like, all right, fuck, I'm gonna just go all in. On
Totally.
nothing.
And actually at that point is when things started to kind of like pick up momentum for me.
That's
I
dope.
had like booked my first regional play.
Dope.
At the same time that I booked my first thing on Limitless.
Sick.
And then it was like, all right, like I don't want to do anything that like is like a regular job.
Yeah.
And you know, after that I had, you know, another 2 years in New York, and I basically just like, you know, made ends meet somehow.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, just doing gigs here and there or whatever it is. And like, then in 2017, I did an episode of How to Get Away with Murder, and I came out here to do that. And when I came out here, it was kind of like, you know, it feels right. It feels right to kind of come back to LA. You know, I had never actually lived in LA, so I was like, you know, I feel like there's more opportunities for me here now. Yeah. And so I talked to my girlfriend, who's now we've been together for 7 years.
So you were with her while, like, you said it, like, in New York?
So we actually went to acting school together.
Okay.
So we were first day of acting school. It's like our orientation at our acting studio. Nobody knows anybody, you know, whatever. And they purposefully do this thing where they put you in this room and they make you do this movement exercise, you know, just to make sure everybody feels like we're in this together.
Breaking the ice.
Yeah. Like nobody knows what's going on, but we collectively don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so my girlfriend, and I was in a relationship at the time, and she was in a relationship at the time, and she's the person in front of me. I was like, I was like,
you might be the one.
Yeah. I was like, wow, this girl is fine. You know what I mean?
with the capital fine.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, we ended up getting placed in the same like group in our acting studio, and we just became friends. You know, me, her, and a few other people, and so we just had a really great friendship, even though we had, you know, significant others at that time. Yeah. And then when it was my senior year and her junior year, because I'm a year older than her, we like kind of like casually dated and tried to figure out like, could we be in a relationship, whatever, but we never actually like communicated our feelings, you know, and we didn't want to like ruin the friendship either. You know, it's like
sounds
that young.
Sounds familiar.
Exactly. We've all kind of been there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, she's not interested, and she was like, oh, he's not interested, and so we kind of like, you know, parted different ways, and I graduated, and I ended up dating someone else, which was a total mistake, because the entire time I was just thinking about her. Yeah. And so, so me and Alyssa, her name is Alyssa, we've been together now for 7 years. Beautiful. And so when it came time for me to move to LA, she was like super supportive, because she's an actor.
Yeah, she gets it. Yeah.
Totally. And I'm so grateful for that, because like there's never any type of like competitiveness. There's never any type of like misunderstanding. It's like we speak the same language. We know that
know the industry. You
exactly.
Guys
our work can take us anywhere at any point in time. So I was like, look, I think I need to move to LA, and she was like, do it. Like this is where you feel moved to do right now. Do it. And that was like the best thing that could have ever happened, because like once I moved to LA, it was like I felt like I had my time to like groom as an artist. Yeah. I'd worked with like some amazing artists in New York, you know, just artists who like really care about the art. So I wasn't coming to LA with this mentality that a lot of people come to LA with, which is like, I just need to like make it.
Need to make
it.
You kind of had that with New York a little bit.
Yes, totally. And I was like, no, I'm an artist. Like I had become realized as an artist. And I was like, I don't care about fame. I don't care about, you know, any of that sort of stuff. I just want to do art that like really matters. And so coming here with that mentality was a great thing. And so I did like How to Get Away with Murder, and then, you know, I moved to LA, and it was like, okay, getting your feet wet, and it's a whole different ball game in LA. The industry in LA is way different than the industry in New York, because you know there are TV shows shot in New York, but like nowhere near the stuff that's being cast in LA. Yeah. And there's like way more theater in New York, and like very little theater here. And like, you know, in New York, you go to an audition, you're like getting on the subway, and you're, you know, that's your process to get to an audition. Yeah. Here, you're like sitting in traffic for like 30 minutes and like pulling up to a movie studio.
You're in traffic for 30 minutes for like 5 miles. Like, you only go 5 miles.
Exactly.
And then you're in the room for 10 seconds and you leave.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, that's where my struggle was I still live in Orange County, so going to LA is such a fucking hassle.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's like this sacrifice. That's the dedication.
Totally.
You have to, like, go through.
Totally. And yeah, I mean, you know, I think that like when I first moved to LA, I had this idea like, oh, I'm gonna move here, and you know, it's gonna be like sunshines and roses. You know, like when I land here, it's like, all right, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like who
wants me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it certainly has not been that way, and I'm very grateful for it because it's like I've learned so much in the challenging times, and there's constantly challenging times. But those moments where like you're not, either the auditions aren't coming your way or the auditions are coming your way, but they're like not. You don't feel like they're great auditions.
Yeah.
10 refugee
auditions
exactly.
in a row.
Yeah.
Man, I had an audition one time in New York for a white supremacist. For me to play a white supremacist.
Interesting.
And so I called my agent at the time and I was like,
why did you submit me for this?
No, and he was confused too. And he was like, oh, and he's like, well, I think that you should just, it's a good casting director. Like, you should just.
That's always kind of the sly thing as like,
yeah.
It's like the
Just
casting
get in the room
director's
with them.
fired.
Yeah.
Get in the room with them.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I remember, and my girlfriend was here. We'd laugh about it because, like, I remember preparing for it with her, and we were like, am I doing? Like, I'm discriminating against myself right now.
Yeah.
Like, this does not add. Like, do you ever see that Dave Chappelle sketch where he's like, he plays the white supremacist? Yeah.
Wow,
Clint Bigsby, is it right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's what's going on here. Yeah. So I show up to audition, and it's a room of white guys. And I'm like, and everyone's looking at me, and I'm like,
was the waiting room all white guys?
Yeah, it's all white guys. That's what I'm saying. And so I went into the casting director, and he was like, oh, I think there's been some mix-up.
You're like,
I was like,
who
saw your
headshot?
I think there's a mix-up.
So they knew it too.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how it turned out, but obviously I did not get that role.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was saying, like there's so many moments where you're like, man, what am I doing?
Yeah,
And, or there's been so many moments where I've gotten really close to things.
Yeah.
Like,
like On a Veil or.
Oh man, dude, when I was in New York. Do you guys remember that movie Pacific Rim?
Yes.
So like,
you want a veil for that movie?
No. So Pacific Rim 2.
Yeah.
I was on a veil for.
Whoa.
And, yeah.
Is that out?
Yeah, John Boyega's in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. And so I like had a session where I met the director, and like we had like a a session where we like worked. Like he gave me notes, and we were. In my mind, I'm like, dude, this is my part. Like I'm gonna get this, you know. But I was so naive at the time, and like. I was basically on hold for like almost like 6 weeks, and every day thinking that like I'm gonna go to Australia, I'm gonna go shoot this movie, and blah blah blah. And then it turns out they're like, no, we love him, but we went with a younger choice.
Who got
was it John Boyega?
No.
Okay.
There was another Indian actor. I don't remember his name. He's like a Disney Channel kid.
Yeah.
The kid from Jesse?
I can't.
Maybe I don't know.
Is he in?
That's the only Indian kid I know.
I'm trying to think of the character in Pacific Rim 2.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the guy I auditioned for, and man, I was like heartbroken at the time. It was like my first like real
rejection.
I was cool. I've always been cool with rejection for whatever reason.
But that's the one that hit.
That's
so
the
close,
one,
such a big thing.
Yeah. And man, over the past few years, there's been last year there was a pilot that I tested for, and it was between me and one other guy.
I did that. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, and we had it was like literally like if you book this, you're gonna fly to Toronto the next day, and it's like more money than you've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's like the life-changing situation, and you're like, oh my god, like is this gonna happen? And end up not getting it.
Yeah.
And the show actually just I think it just ended, or the first season just ended. It's called Good Sam. It's on CBS. But I'm really grateful I did not get that, because first of all it's a medical procedural, which is it's a great gig, but is that the work that I really want to do?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I would take it if it came.
Yeah,
to me.
That's the thing.
I mean, I just the journey as an artist is certainly not one that is linear.
Yeah.
It's like all over the place, and sometimes you think something is not a fruitful opportunity, and it becomes a fruitful opportunity.
Yeah,
and something that like you think is a fruitful opportunity actually is just like a dead end.
Yeah.
So
I hear that all the time, and I've experienced it too. It's like the audition that you're like you don't give a fuck about.
Yeah.
Is like the role that you get.
No,
Totally.
that's it. Happened to me when I booked New Girl.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I was just a co-star, literally with one scene, a couple lines, and then it was it was the first thing I booked as an actor.
Okay.
So like with lines and everything. I've done like behind I've booked other things just as a dancer, like backup, like Kids Choice Awards and all that.
Cool.
But like as an actor, it was New Girl. But that was the one of the auditions where I was like, what? There was another kid from OSHA that went too.
Oh really?
Yeah, the same day and same time and everything. And it was one of the first auditions that I was like, I tell my mom everything too, like how I felt and like if I was confident. I was like, I don't know. It was like felt really weird, and like I just did it twice, and I was like, I just didn't feel anything.
Right.
Sometimes you have those auditions where like, yo, I fucking killed that.
Yeah.
No callback.
Yeah.
No callback.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, but like, for New Girl, that was one of the auditions where I was like, fuck it. I'm whatever. I did my best I could, and didn't feel, and then thankfully got the callback.
Well, it's also so many times it's like, they're looking for something that they don't even know what they're looking for.
Yeah, that's the thing too, because when I with that audition, like the OSHA kid, he was a white kid, and still at this time, but at that time I was the kid too, like, oh, it's always the white kid. They're always gonna get booked the white kid. I'm never like, because I got the fucked up.
They're opening up to us.
Yeah,
they're opening up to us.
Totally,
totally. But I was always like insecure too with like I said, with my teeth or like my hair, just my obviously like my nationality and all that. So that's when I was like, oh fuck, this could happen. Then. So it's like one of those things.
Well, I think the thing that I've come to realize, it's hot in here, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's hot. No, it's hot.
It's a real garage.
Yeah.
It's a real garage.
This is not a set.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a garage.
Hey, like we said, the sacrifice, right?
Yeah, totally.
The sacrifice.
We will sweat it out. Yeah. We will sweat it out.
That's what we do. That's what we do. Sacrifices.
But no, I was going to say, speaking on that, like the things that I think that we are insecure about sometimes as artists or as actors, whatever it is like actually our superpowers. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I'm noticing that now recently.
Totally, because if you embrace it, it becomes part of your authenticity.
Exactly.
And when you bring your authenticity to an audition or role, whatever it is, it's like that is the intangible element that people gravitate to that they can't put their finger on or they can't articulate, they can't identify, but it's like
X factor,
whatever that is.
But
that's what I want.
Yeah, that's that one thing that you have that no one else has.
Totally, and I think that like if you like observe artists or actors whose work you really admire, that's what it's about. It's like they have these like little ticks or like nuances in their personality that come out in their work that only they can provide.
Yeah.
Like my idol is Denzel Washington, right? Mm-hmm. And people, do impressions of Denzel.
Yeah.
Why? Because like he has this very specific way of going about it. Yeah. But the thing, regardless of whatever he's in, it's always truthful. It's always authentic. He's not trying. It's effortless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why he's a master of the craft.
Yeah. And it's also, but most of the time, it's also different. Like different roles.
Totally.
That's like I put Denzel in that category. For me, I put Johnny Depp.
Yes.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake
Gyllenhaal.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Totally.
Morgan Freeman, or not Morgan. Well, Morgan Freeman. Yeah. But Samuel Jackson.
Totally.
Like that's a good point. I think.
Yeah.
That's a little highlight clip. That's gonna keep in my mind. Authenticity. With that. Going back with, I wanted to touch back with when you almost got the Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
And you said like it devastated you. Was there a point though after you obviously felt devastated? Did that kind of motivate? Because for me, I had the same situation when I auditioned for Jungle Book.
Okay.
And it was
the live action thing?
The live action one. Okay. So it was that kid who booked it, me and another kid.
That was crazy.
So, but I felt the same way, but then my mom obviously helped me through it. But for me, knowing I was this close, it kind of motivated me to even go take it like further and further because I knew I was there, just not quite yet. Was that kind of the same for you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a natural period of discouragement at first. I think at first
self-doubt.
You're like, damn, like, is this really something? Is this worth it? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like this pain that I feel right now, like, is this worth continuing to experience or like having more opportunities to experience?
Yeah.
But then you sit back and like, I call these moments, like the dark night of the soul, where you're just like, you can't sleep. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and your mind is spinning, and you're like questioning your
all
existence.
the scenarios.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have those moments all the time, you know. But like in those moments, you ask yourself, well, like, what else would I do?
Mm-hmm.
And you usually get to the answer like nothing. Like I don't know what else I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to do something just for the sake of making money. Like I would never feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
Love this guy. Love this guy.
Dude talks about that all
Literally
the time.
said like that almost verbatim to my mom like the other day.
Oh,
We were
dude.
talking about school and
Almost
it's-
verbatim like 2 nights ago, I think, or something. When
Well,
it's just like literally nothing. I enjoy doing nothing as much as this, and if I can't do this, I don't want to do anything.
Right,
That's what-
totally.
Yeah.
Well, it's that you know, push and pull that all artists feel is like, you know, the expectations of like society or the world or the things that
Thanks, Cam.
Someone's breaking in. We got it. Thank you.
Thank you,
whoever
Cam.
your security guy is,
Yeah.
he's on it.
Yeah.
He is we are.
Hey.
I feel protected.
Come on now.
You know what I mean?
It's that AI.
Yeah, totally.
Come on now.
Jarvis.
We Jarvis in here.
But yeah, like it's like, you know, as artists we feel this like push and pull of like, oh man, you know, I should be doing something and like you know, where I can like buy a house or like, you know, get a better car or like
Yeah.
you know, whatever society tells us should be the benchmarks. But then you sit back and you're like, okay, if I just pursued those things independently aside from my art, would I be fulfilled? And usually the answer is like, no, I would not. So we have to play this. We have to make the sacrifice a lot of the times where it's like, no, I'm just gonna be in full pursuit of my art, and if I don't get the worldly things or I don't get the things that like I should be getting, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of conviction because like when your bank account is, you know,
Is
approaching
pretty,
zero for
killing
like,
you.
you know, the 20th time or whatever it is, and you're, you know, you're trying to figure out like, how am I going to make ends meet? You start to have that internal dialogue over and
I'm
over.
not gonna
again.
lie. That's me right now.
Totally.
I'm not gonna lie.
Totally. I mean, for me, like the pandemic was really tough because I had no idea what was going to happen with our industry, you know? And if it
No auditions for a long time.
Exactly.
Long
Yeah.
time. That's
and
crazy.
if it wasn't for unemployment, like that has saved me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
Because without it, like you can still survive. You know, you're not like making like a profit, but like you're surviving, and that's all you need as an artist.
Yeah.
You know, and luckily throughout the pandemic, I was doing the morning show for, you know, the second half of last year. So that was a great source of income.
Yeah.
And at the same time, right when the morning show ended we stopped shooting in May. And right when that happened, I booked, it used to be called like the ABC Diversity Showcase, but now it's called the Disney Showcase. And I booked that. So that was a great opportunity right away. So like I had like been working consistently for a few months. That gig ended and I immediately got the Disney Showcase.
But you did another Apple original, For All Mankind, too, right?
So that I did in 2018.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow, that's already been, the service has been out for that long already. Wow.
Yeah.
Apple Plus.
Yeah. Well, we shot it that year, and then it might have come out in 2019.
Oh, okay, yeah,
like
2019.
But yeah, I was in 2 episodes of that. That was a really cool experience. I mean, like I was like a very minor character, and I was just in like the, you know, control booth. And you know, that was pretty stressful just because like we were in the same environment shooting for like 2 weeks, and people are smoking, you know, fake cigarettes, and so that you're breathing that in the whole time.
Yeah.
I actually like did not have a great experience, but it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot in terms of like set management.
Yeah.
You know, how to not like get your energy drained, and you know, because we were going into overtime, and it would be like 16-hour days. And
Big studio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And but yeah, that was a really cool experience. But after that, I did not work for like a year, and then like the pandemic happened, you know, and you know, that entire time period was like one where I was like, yo, like I just moved to LA. Like, what's
next?
What's next?
Yeah.
You know, and so it was definitely challenging. There was some, you know, very, very tough,
dark times,
tough moments, man.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm very grateful. My girlfriend ended up moving to LA with me, so we.
I was gonna say, because you said you when you were together in New York, you said you moved by yourself.
Yeah, and
moved
so
without her.
she moved like right at the end of 2019.
Wow, so she's
just before the pandemic.
So she's pretty brand new to
Yeah,
kind of.
so like she's only starting to get her feet wet now, like in the industry,
Crazy.
now.
Yeah.
After everything started to open up.
Is she still acting? Or
Yeah. So she's a phenomenal singer,
Oh,
and so
cool.
she like her dream is like to be on Broadway and do musicals, and like
dope.
I'm tone deaf. Like
Oh.
I'm actually tone deaf. Like I cannot hold a note.
Oh, same. I'm with you. Even though I dance and I know musicality,
You get it.
Nope.
You get it. Like, but people will be like Theo, like,
Everyone can sing.
You're not tone deaf.
Yeah.
And I was like,
you
no.
know music.
No, I took an elective in college where I did like a private voice lesson.
Yeah.
And the first lesson, the professor's like, so like, let's test out your voice. And I'm like, I'm gonna tell you right now, like, I cannot sing. She's like, I'm gonna get you to sing. Like, you're gonna be able to do it by the time I'm done. Like 3 classes in, he's like, no, you're actually tone deaf.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. There's nothing I can do for you.
He's like, you're fucked.
Cause.
Yeah,
You're fucked.
Yeah. But no, yeah, she's a phenomenal singer, and yeah. So she's just trying to like get into the TV and film auditions here.
Yeah.
But she's my reader for everything.
Dope.
Like she has literally, we have been on this journey together. We joke about it all the time. Like in New York, we used to stay up until like 3:00 in the morning working on my auditions.
That's so cool.
Just because I didn't have like a great audition process, and I just thought like the more I did it, the better the audition would be, sort of thing. And
what is your we'll have this as a last question, really, but
I might have one more, but yeah.
hey, we'll go on for 2 hours.
Yeah, we can.
I mean, you want to break the record?
No, I've been signaled that it is time to wrap up soon, so we'll do yours and then mine.
Okay, but
wow, it goes by fast.
Yeah.
I feel like we're just getting started.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Oh my God.
That's what I was exactly saying. But we'll go on for hours. But what's going with that?
Joe Rogan.
What is your process like for audition?
Yeah.
You were saying, what's your process to audition, and then maybe callbacks, and then when you're on set, like, do you have different process for each step, or is it kind of similar? Like, how does that look for you?
Yeah, I mean, when if I'm getting to get real technical and real detailed with it, like my first step is like the texting of it all. Like I get the sides or whatever, and I try to understand what the circumstances are. I have a very like detailed way of going about it, but I feel very grateful that I have a very, very reliable process where I don't even I don't memorize.
That's
what I told you too.
Yeah, I don't memorize, and it's not that I don't get the words, it's that I have this process of absorption where basically like as I explore the circumstances, I'm also taking in the words, and it's way easier for me to, remember in a sense because I'm pairing the words with the actual circumstances in the story.
You literally put yourself
exactly,
into that world.
Exactly. And then I start exploring all the different possibilities and blah blah blah. And then when it comes to actually like, well, now we don't go into the audition room, we shoot the self-tape ourselves.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
it's just like I just play and see what happens, and try to like we were saying that intangible essence, whatever comes out of it, and that's the magic of it all. And then like, I mean, I had a call back this morning, and it was over Zoom, and I'm reading with the casting director, over Zoom, and like getting into that world is just like being extremely present, and just saying like, look, whatever for the next 5-10 minutes, we're gonna be on this journey, and I don't know what's gonna happen. We just met. Come what may. And then when it comes to set, that's a whole different process because like when you're on set, you have the opportunity to like rehearse while they're setting up the shots, and then you're going back to your trailer and you're like, okay, now I know what the blocking is, and I've done my homework the night before or whenever you got the sides or whatever it is. And I mean, I think that the main thing for me is about presence and about just opening the door for play and seeing what happens.
Gotcha.
You
you two are
I'm
very similar.
I'm glad to know that our processes are very
because he's helped me a lot because I've had a lot of acting. I didn't go to school really for acting, so there's a lot of like casting directors like back in the day when they're telling a 10-year-old these processes, and it just wasn't working for me, but I still did them because I had no idea what else to do.
Right.
So then I have my personal acting coach, and then he came into my life, so like both of their ideas is basically you. So when I started using that method of like it's not really just memorizing, it's just kind of like putting yourself into
I mean,
it.
I guess I should also say that I take class still once a week.
That's dope.
So and this is the philosophy at our studio. Which I think is way more.
What studio do you go to?
Stuart Rogers.
Okay.
It's in North Hollywood, but I went to acting school. Like I went to a conservatory program, and like this is way more practical and works way better than what I studied in college. I mean, I'm grateful for what I studied in college because
it lays like
foundation.
Groundwork. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. But this is like practical and can be totally used, whether it's theater, film, television, doesn't matter the medium. Definitely. You know?
Yeah.
So if you guys are interested in taking class,
I'm always here for it. But that's crazy. It's literally the same method.
I've kind of formed the OR process at my studio as well.
Okay.
So maybe
where do you take class?
Margie Haber.
Oh, I think I've heard of her.
West Hollywood.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that name. Yeah.
Crazy. Well, we all act.
My quick question is, and it's like a fun one.
Okay.
And you may have already answered it. One is an actor that you like would want to work with as your thing, and a director. Is Denzel the actor?
Denzel Washington.
Denzel's the
my man.
Okay. What's your favorite movie of his?
Oh no! Don't make me do that.
Okay, we'll say top 3.
Top 3?
Top 3 Denzel movies.
Oh my god, dude.
There's still a lot to...
Christ.
It's better than one, though.
Yeah, no,
you got more options.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, let's see. Well, my first movie that I ever saw with Denzel was Remember the Titans. So even though that's like a very low on his spectrum...
It's just memorable for you.
I fell in love with the man... through that movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Remember the Titans for sure.
Has a special place in your heart.
Oh, absolutely. The Hurricane, where I don't know if you guys ever seen that. It plays Reuben Carter. Malcolm X.
Okay. Of course.
He won the Oscar for that.
Of course.
Those are 3 of, but I don't know if they're the top 3.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying just top 3 for you.
Sure.
So those are the...
Sure. And director, Scorsese, probably.
Scorsese. It's a good one. That's a good one.
It is a good one.
It's a good one.
It is a good one. Very well. With that.
Theo, what are your thoughts on method acting?
Oh wow. Okay, so like how nerdy do you want me to get about it, Mohan?
I would like to nerd out with you on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's the top actor that's really known for method? Is it
Heath
Johnny?
Ledger.
Oh,
Heath Ledger.
Oh, yeah, Heath Ledger.
But
it was the one.
I'm talking about like right now.
Daniel Day-Lewis. Jared, man, that guy. No, that's a bad example.
Yeah, that's a.
you know,
Morbius.
You know, there's a real misconception about method acting. Okay, method acting is the general conception of method acting is that you know there's somebody that like just totally becomes
that person,
the character, whatever it is, and when they're on set, they're like only that character, whatever it is. That's not what.
Those are rare occasions.
Those are rare occasions, but method acting means that like you have a method to which you approach the craft, and it's specific to you, and it works for you 100% of the time. So in theory, we're all method actors because if you have a method, then you're a method actor.
Yeah.
What we're really talking about when we describe people like Jared Leto, or we're talking.
Heath Ledger.
I can't believe I just said
sorry,
that.
Sorry. We'll reverse that.
That did not
happen.
I'm so sorry. Bleep that out, actually.
Daniel
Day-Lewis is submersion. Yeah. Right, we're talking about somebody who is having a submersive experience in the circumstances of another life.
Yeah,
gotcha. That's a good explanation.
They're eating like that. You know, they're eating what that person would eat, or they're living in that world. Like Daniel Day-Lewis, like he would take 2 years to work on a role because he would go to great lengths to have an experiential, lived in world of that character.
For Crucible, he did not bathe, shower, clean himself for about 8 months.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Exactly. Like that's what we talk about. I think like when people say method acting, what they really mean is like submersion.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was saying. That's a very good way to put it.
Yeah.
In that word is.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, we don't always get the opportunity to do that. You know what I mean? So
you have limited time.
Totally. You have to have a method that works for you.
Yeah.
You know, where you can be as submersive as possible.
Yeah, unless you're
with staying safe.
With
Yes.
staying safe. But
Totally.
like, unless you're Daniel
Unfortunately.
Day-Lewis, they will give you that time of 2 years to get into
Yes.
whatever
Yeah.
you need. But when
Yes.
Yeah.
you just gotta find your method.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good way to put it. Well, with
Yeah.
that being said, I mean, I feel like this conversation.
I can't even believe it's been an hour.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
well, it's longer than an hour now.
Hour
Okay.
10. Hour 5.
Hour 5. I
That's
mean,
short.
our longest. That's
Yeah.
that's really short. But I think we got. I know a lot of us got some shit to do. Our record. What was Danielle's episode?
Hers was almost 2 hours.
Hers-
She was.
But that's
It was
why
great, but she
It was
yeah.
great, but I think we could have broke that record. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why
I think we could have kept going.
Yeah.
for a
I think,
bit.
but
Yeah,
I think that's another good reason. Part two.
Part
Part
two.
two.
Part
Come
two.
through
Part two.
when you get that Oscar, you know,
Yeah.
baby. When we all get that Oscar, you know. But no, thank you for coming on.
Oh, no,
man.
thanks for having
this
me.
conversation.
Really good time.
Yeah.
really good time. I know Mo's still crushing over here.
Well, no, I mean, I also just want to say, like, just as a guest on the show having this conversation, like, it's really important that these conversations happen.
No, definitely.
You know, artists have to champion and support other artists.
Yeah.
When we get too insular about our own journey and our own craft or whatever it is that's when we lose the inspiration. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, this conversation has been incredibly inspiring, and I hope whoever watches it, you know, takes that away from it. And this needs to happen more.
No.
So
Yeah.
thank you guys for, you know, creating a
no.
resource for this.
No, that's thank
Vlad,
you. Thank
I
you.
forgot your name, dude. Brandon. Shout out to Brandon.
See, but
my man.
no, that's I mean, like we always said, that's kind of like the mission of this. You know, still keep it casual, not too professional.
Yes.
To keep it like awkward and
No, yeah,
weird,
yeah.
but like still
Totally.
comfortable where you can be vulnerable and
Totally,
like,
man.
like you said, just have these conversations. So I appreciate those kind words and
Of course.
hopefully, I mean not hopefully, but you will.
We
be
will
back.
see you again.
We
Yeah.
will
We
see
will
you
see you
again.
again.
Definitely, definitely.
For if you're watching on Spotify or Apple Music,
Go to
what's your
YouTube.
go to YouTube, watch it because it's better in my opinion. But what is if you want to shout out your tags, your Instagram or
I'm just
website?
at Theo Iyer. I don't have a website anymore. or
There it
anything
is,
like that.
Theo Iyer. Make sure
Yeah.
you watch Morning Show.
Mhm.
What else you
For All
got?
Mankind.
For All Mankind.
Co-star on Limitless.
Limitless,
Yeah,
everything.
we'll throw out his entire
Yeah,
resume.
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm sorry. We said we're done. Are you working on anything right now?
Ooh.
So like I said, I just finished that. Well, not just, but in December, we did this Disney showcase,
Oh yeah.
and that has opened up a ton of opportunities.
Sick.
So I've just been like auditioning like crazy,
Sick.
Amazing.
meeting different, you know, executives and things like that. It's
Yeah.
like I'm in that phase right now where
Just
it's like
it's the
just
behind the
planting
scenes.
seeds.
Yeah,
planting
for
seeds
sure.
and
Well, that's
come away.
I mean, that's the process of being an actor. So that's
Yeah.
dope. You're in that process, and like I said, watch out for this guy.
Yeah.
And that's episode 9.
Thanks for sticking around.
Thanks, and
Dope experience.
oh yeah, make sure you just do the damn thing,
Yes,
and
sir.
we'll see you next Monday.
Yes, sir.
Peace out.